Yeah, it takes less than 30 seconds to come back if it's already set like that. And the camera needs to be turned on once again. Okay, sorry for the black screen, folks. Peace. And we're back. OccupySFTV. By the way, I forgot to introduce myself earlier. I am CIA James, Occupy One Liberty on live stream, IRA on Ustream, Independent Citizen Media, .weebly.com, and I also work on a collaborative project called Occupy The Odyssey. You can find that on Facebook and occupytheodyssey.weebly.com. And my latest project that I'm working on here with Rick and several other members of the Firewall community at thefirewallcommunity.weebly.com. Check it out. Pretty cool stuff going on here. It's a new world revolution here that we have going on. The New Earth Army, whatever you want to call it. And I really enjoy sharing this kind of information with people that what's going on here and abroad through other citizen journalists, my comrades in arms, as it would be. We don't fight with weapons of mass destruction or destruction of any kind. We fight with cameras and knowledge. Mm-hmm. That is our new power. Rick, we were talking off camera for a minute there, and I know you wanted to come back. And our topic right now is, can you say that name again? Yitzhak Rabin?
Yeah, Yitzhak Rabin.
And can you give the viewers a little more information on that name and who he is? And
Well, in 1994, he and Yasser Arafat and Shimon Peres, you'd recognize him later on as being the Prime Minister of Israel, they all won the Nobel Peace Prize because they were all working on a solution to the Gaza Strip and, you know, all the ancient homelands of Islam.
Doesn't seem like it's worked out since '94.
No, he was assassinated.
Okay.
By the more conservative wing of his country, if you believe the headlines, you know, the lone gunman. They have their own story going on, and we have our own story going on, but really it's the story of human condition. It's the fact that every time peacemakers arise, every time someone that wants to do well and do what's best for humanity, they get snuffed out.
So we take names like John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X,
Robert Kennedy,
the Dalai Lama.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole exodus from Tibet.
And let's not forget Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Exodus from Tibet.
Yeah, that's the whole Dalai Lama thing. You know, we have he had to leave Tibet because China went there and took it over, and now when you look at a map, Tibet's no longer its own country, it's China. That's what happened. I mean,
a communist country.
Yeah, it's not just that it's communist, it's that it's ran by a small elite of probably like 10 to 50 people, you know, that run the country, and they're very secretive.
Kind of like what's here in America.
Yeah. We have a more open face to our government, but it's really not.
Well, right. But I mean, the open face is just a front. I mean, it's like having a mafia storefront, but they're actually, instead of selling olive oil, they're selling drugs and illegal booze or something. If it was the 1920s, let's say,
yeah,
something. They're doing something off the books, more or less.
Yeah, and I mean, during Prohibition, our corruption in our country was at sky-high levels. People tend to forget that now. They think, well,
corruption in the government.
Yeah. They tend to forget that now.
I think it's only tenfold worse now than it was then.
Yeah, and it just gets worse and worse because we have more people that they need to control in more ways that they have to control them. So you have all these people like GE and Westinghouse and companies like that, DuPont, that own our corporate media,
And the politicians.
own the politicians. So there's no real freedom of religion. There's no real freedom of press. There's only freedom that they allow you to have in and of their system, unless you work outside their system. That's why alternative news stations and things like that are so important. Because if you don't have that, then you have no one to check the people that are given the corporate line and given the government line, and it's these people are basically given drugs, booze, women, to keep them happy and to keep them satisfied, and then they go on TV and spout these things they know aren't true half the time, but they don't give a crap.
Hypocrites.
They're making their check, so they don't care. They're making their millions.
Millions.
Millions, yeah. I like Rush Limbaugh, people like that. Rush Limbaugh on the surface.
Well, those people like Rush, they've got their opinions and they're entitled to them. It's America.
Yeah.
Or, it's humanity. You should be allowed your opinion. But what about, when they're saying, well, we should do this and we should do that. And like Rush, I'm sure he makes a good amount of money. And, when you're donating to a cause, don't you want your money to go to that cause and not the people running it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of nonprofit organizations personally that claim the nonprofit status where they're paying themselves, I'm just going to throw some numbers out, $50,000 a year is what I'm making. I'm not really making that, but let's say I'm a nonprofit owner and I'm making 50 grand a year because I'm bringing in $1 million to the organization, or that's what's being brought into the organization as a founder. I pay myself $50,000. That's a pretty good living by any standard.
Probably double that. That would be actually.
Okay, at $1 million, I'd maybe making, let's say, take the 10% then.
Yeah.
Waitress wages.
Yeah, 100,000.
100,000. Wow, geez, I know any waitresses that make $100,000. But normally that'd be 15 to 20% if you're a waitress. So that's $150,000 to $200,000 of $1 million. And $1 million for a nonprofit organization isn't a whole lot of money to bring in. I know I've met plenty of people that run nonprofit organizations that bring in well over $1 million.
Yeah.
In either donations of one kind or another, a lot of it is monetarily. So, and it's, speaking of donations, I'm just going to go right on to the politics of religion. And how is it that people donate so much money to a tax-free system where, they don't pay any taxes, and then they say, well, money is bad and all these things are bad, and then you see the Pope showered in gold and living the lavish life, and that, all these quotes and stuff you see on Facebook about how, you're doing it wrong, and it shows the picture of the Pope, would Jesus approve, blah, 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 all these different little quick blurbs. How is it that people don't see that as wrong, and how is it that it takes somebody like me or you or the rest of the public that's doing this kind of activism to talk about it, to wake up? How is it that it's so blind to those people? What do you think it is?
Indoctrination.
Indoctrination.
Yeah,
being born into it?
Yeah, say you're born in Latin America and Roman Catholicism is all you know, and there's really nothing else beyond that, then what really alternative do you have? You have only the alternative to accept what you're being told by your patriarchal or matriarchal society, however it is. In Latin America, it's usually matriarchal, so they get with the ladies, and then they're like, well, hey, it's cool to have this picture of the Pope up in your house, and it's cool. It's a cult of personality. That's what it is.
Okay.
Just like what Obama built around himself when he was getting elected and saying that he was going to get rid of the Patriot Act and get rid of the Guantanamo Bay.
Well, and that's still there. And we know that all presidents are liars.
Yeah, it's just a cult of personality. They've just refined it here to be a political system rather than a religious system, because here we've always had Jefferson at the beginning saying we need to separate church from state, because he saw how the Anglican church affected English society and how we need to remove that from our society, which is why I'm against Israel as a nation. And I know that's a real big thing with people, that being against Israel as a nation, you're anti-Semitic. And anti-Semiticism is not the same as being against theocracy. And I understand that a lot of Israel society is secular. I understand that part too. But it is built around the religion in the end. But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what religion it is, whether it's Roman Catholicism, Protestantism, whether it's Islam or Judaism or Buddhism or anything. If you believe in the dogma and you believe in what you're being told, you aren't looking at the whole picture of what the religion's about. Read the scripture, read what these people actually said, and understand what they actually said, rather than what you're being told that they said and what it means. And that's what these people play on. They play upon the fact that these notions that, well, if you're Roman Catholic, then you can't have an abortion, you can't have marriage out of wedlock, you can't have any of these things that are against these dogmatic practices of that religion. And that's all put in there in place as a means to control. It's not put in there in place to protect you or to save your soul or anything. It's all about, it focuses on the physical world rather than the spiritual.
This is something that would go back thousands of years, all the way back to Egyptian times, or maybe even farther.
At least Akhenaten. Akhenaten was one of the first people that believed,
Akhenaten, yep,
that talked about monotheism. And there's people that say that, well, Akhenaten made himself a god.
Well, he was a freak by Egyptian culture.
Yeah, he had by all of their artifacts that's left over from him. He had like an elongated head, elongated face, and you can go into the ancient alien theory with that.
What Akhenaten did, he deviated from what the norm was in Egyptian society, which was to worship multiple gods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you were talking about monotheism, he was the first to say we will worship, and I believe it was the sun god, right?
Yeah, it was the Ankh is what it's kind of a blurry line, because some people say, well, he is worshiping the sun. Some people believe that he was worshiping the God of salvation and mercy, which, what does that sound like? Does that not sound like the New Testament Christian God that's supposed to be in there, rather than the brimstone and hellfire God that you're taught by Cotton Mather and by all these guys that took over the Pilgrims beginning?
Sorry, I'm multitasking here. I'm trying to read in on Global Revolution. I want to thank you guys for doing the rebroadcast. I'm watching the chat feed because there's more activity in here than in my personal chat room. For those of you watching, like I said, I am James Cartmill, CIA James, Occupy One Liberty, IRL, yada yada yada. I got all kinds of names. I did that beginning of the Occupy movement and throughout the movement just for safety and security. I am doing live broadcasts more often now from a secure location where we have a community going forward with what it means to change humanity and the way that it sees itself, I guess, is the way we have a lot of things going on here. But as I'm checking into the chat room, I've been seeing a lot of things going on. They talk about a lot of other things in here than just what's going on in the feed, which is what I like. And I think from now on, what I'm going to do is try to collaborate with Global Revolution, because they do have more viewers, and I'll be checking their feed for the feedback, as well as my feed on OccupySFTV on Ustream, so that I can try to get as many topics and questions going on, because they'll be talking about something in here and they won't realize that this is a rebroadcast from another station, so I won't get their questions and they'll talk to each other. So now that I see that this is going on, there's a little discussions here and there. I think this is really interesting. I think this would be a good way to collaborate in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's really touched on the topics that we've been talking about, but I digress here off subject. But back to monotheism, Akhenaten, and the manipulation control that we have in today's society. It's been taught over thousands of years. The manipulation, mind control from the masters, or people that perceive themselves as masters. How do we break that mold from, my idea is that I talk to people not only through the feed, but an individual one-on-one, try to get them interested in either watching the feed or checking out information like World Trade Center 7, Esoteric Agenda, Thrive, Zeitgeist, name a couple more.
Loose change.
All of these things that have more or less the same topic. How the Federal Reserve is corrupt, our government is corrupt, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'll continue doing this until they kill me.
Yeah. Couple other things would be, I would say, look at the Obama deception, look at the police state.
So just Google these things. Anything we say, just Google it, and you'll probably find it, because Google knows the shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I really wanted to believe Obama was legit. I really was coming out of the Bush years, and I was on the left side of the fence at that time. I was like, well, finally we have a Democrat in office. And then I realized very quickly it's all stage.
It's all puppet.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if a Democrat or a Republican is office. Those are all just labels that they use to... It's like rooting for the Yankees or the Red Sox. These guys are great, these guys are great. And it's all in cahoots at the end of the day. It's the 5 o'clock rule. They all go on each other's yachts and drink their mojitos or martinis or whatever else, and they have their hookers and whatever else they want. And, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that kind of gluttony or hoarding.
Hedonism.
I'm sorry?
Hedonism, definitely.
Hedonism. Hedonism?
Hedonism, yeah.
Give me a definition on there, because I'm not familiar with that one.
Well, if you've ever seen, Futurama, being able to indulge in the negative side of things, indulge in, not just even the negative side, just indulging in excess. That's the path of ruin, You could go back to William Blake, and that would be the path of excess leads to the palace of wisdom. And that's very much what these people believe. And they believe that their God is the God of the earth rather than the God of the heavens. And the God of the earth is Lucifer, the light bringer, and all these things. And it's all a mystery cult.
But the poetry of William Blake can lead you to enlightenment.
Yeah, I like
Read
William Blake a lot.
Inauguries of Innocence.
Inauguries of
Best
Innocence?
Poem of all time.
I also like T.S. Eliot's the Hollow Men. The Hollow Men's a good
Okay.
poem.
I just was trying to multitask here, listen to you guys and catch this feed at the same time. I just noticed that somebody says, where do they go? I heard that Anonymous hacked the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
That's news to me. is that recently they hacked the Federal Reserve, or in the past? I mean, wouldn't doubt it if they've done it in the past. If that was recent, that's pretty big news. I'd like to know what they did. You know,
I've heard that.
I can't keep up with everything that's going on.
They hacked the USSC.
Yes, I do know that.
Yes.
That was in retaliation for the death of Aaron Schwartz.
Yeah.
And I do believe that hackers are the only defense that we have, really, against the government.
And by the way, since we are talking about hackers and Anonymous, I want to say thumbs up. We love you.
Yes, we love you. You are our friends and always welcome here.
If you want to
Anytime-
bring your Guy Fawkes mask.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, not the white hats.
We have beds.
No white hats. Black hats only. Black hat.
Maybe
No.
Maybe gray.
We need some
No
morals
gray.
in the hackers. And we
Well,
believe
They
in
have
you.
morals. They have morals and values. They are
Yes,
Well, the
they
white
have.
good
hats.
people.
The white hats work for the government traditionally, and that's how they like to spin it. Well, they're the good guys working for the government.
Yes. No, the hackers, you know
Hey.
that we will agree with your morals if you have morals. If not, then
I
no.
believe-
Go ahead and work for the government and we'll bring you down too.
I believe in the morals and values of the Jedi.
Mm.
Okay? Which is very similar to that of the Buddhist or a lot of Eastern religions.
But that is
that
not the black hats.
and that of
is
Jesus.
not the black
You know,
hats.
which is
That's
do
the
good,
white
always
hats,
do
the
good.
red
There is
hats.
do no evil.
Yes. That's
Right?
the black hats are
Protect
the ones
those that need to be
who will
protected.
sell
do it.
themselves out to the government.
Well,
The
As
white
far as I'm
hats,
concerned.
white hats.
it's
You
the
have
white
to have
hats.
some kind
The
of
white
ethics
hats
or
will sell
morals,
themselves
and
out.
they are the ones that will save us, or the ones that have the ethics and the morals, and that will fight the government with us.
For us.
And for us.
Well, you know, we could go into talking about hackers and Anonymous. We could go back into talking about drones and all kinds of different things.
Or
But
we could go
it's
into peace
been-
and love.
we could do that too. We could talk about gardening and all kinds of other things. But in the meantime, it's been a long day. We've done well over a 3-hour broadcast, or close to, with the little breaks here and there. I think we should do definitely is call it a day. Wait for some things to come in for some more topics, and go from there in a day or two. You know.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing more broadcasts more often, with continuous topics of drones, of politics and religion, various other topics, the prison system, the pipeline prison system from high school to prison, the way that they're doing it now. So there's a whole bunch of topics that we will have coming up here on Occupy SFTV. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and tuning up, retweeting and all that. Don't forget to check out the websites, and peace, love, and solidarity.
Rebuild the nation.
We love you guys. Thanks. We'll see you next time on Occupy SFTV. Occupy One Liberty signing out.